This is probably the most masculine I'm ever going to look in a video. Yeah, I've been a fan of the God of War video game series for a while now. I first played the first one back in 2009, and I was won over by its insane gameplay and engaging storyline and its characters. It was similar to the Prince of Persia video game series, which I also did a video on earlier, like a few months ago back on this channel. I didn't dress up quite the same as I did on that one. I could have dressed as the Prince of Persia on that one, but for whatever reason, maybe because this is a vlog, I decided to try and dress myself up as Kratos. Hence the axe. I'm not just going to talk about the 28 video game. I'm going to talk about all of them. God of War Betrayal. Yes, I played the mobile God of War game in the past. I have no idea how you'd be able to play it now. I have no idea where you could even find it. But that's the thing. I replayed all the God of War games that I had to lead up to this vlog that I'm going to do. God of War, God of War 2, God of War Chains of Olympus, God of War 3, God of War Ghost of Sparta, God of War Ascension, and God of War 2018, which I recently finished. Now, the God of War video games are based loosely on Greek mythology, and everybody knows a little something about Greek mythology. You've got Hercules, which was the inspiration for the Disney movie, which took a few liberties. You've got Perseus, who was the inspiration for Clash of the Titans, not the movie from the 80s, not that rather not the remake with Sam Worthington, which is not that great. The original is actually one of my favorite movies. Not sure what that says about me, because a lot of people see it as a guilty pleasure, but I like it. You've got the Minotaur, which everybody knows about in some way. You've got Pegasus, which is oh, Yugi boy, and you've got God of War has them all in one way or another, and they've all Greek mythology is extraordinarily influential and extraordinarily influential and popular. Like in some way, you can take any story from the modern age and like in some way trace it back to Greek mythology. Like for example, a lot of people are saying nowadays that superheroes are the new Greek gods, which is, if you know, and on my it was because of the God of War video game series that I myself became a pretty big fan of Greek mythology. I already knew a little bit about it because you've got like that parody of the Iliad, the parody of the Odyssey that the Simpsons made, and also a few cartoons that I watched growing up. American Dragon Jake Long is one that pretty much the only one that can come to mind right now, but there were probably a ton of others. Greek mythology is very famous and very influential, and if you throw a stone at a shelf of like books or movies or even anime, I suppose, chances are you hit something that is inspired in some way by Greek mythology. And recently I read for the first time the Iliad and the Odyssey, both attributed by Homer, but I'm not sure what the story is there because some people say that Homer is a pen name used by several people. I don't know if that's true, and I'm probably misremembering. I don't have a script. I'm going all this off the cuff. That's why if it's a vlog, it's an unscripted video that it's an unscripted video. If I do a vlog, I don't use a script. I pretty much use all my time to make myself up. So I'm gonna uh the God of War video games are uh, okay. It's gonna be hard for me to talk about this a lot because there's so much that to talk about in with the about the God of War video games, like the gameplay itself, the characters, its place in the popular culture, the way people react to it, that movie that's supposedly been in production since 2005, that's meant to have Daniel Craig on Jimon Honsu or Dave Bautista, and like the director of Pacific Rim wants to make, but I have no idea if it's going to happen, and not sure I want a God of War movie. I'm not against the idea, but I'm not sure how well you can make it. Anything can be a good movie, but I think you'd easily screw up a God of War movie. And let's see. I didn't. I haven't read the comic book. I'm interested. Well, I haven't read any of the comics. I know that. I recently discovered that they did a prequel comic to the 2018 video game that maybe I'll look into it, but right now it's not on my to-do list. I'm probably going to read the ones that were released like in 2010, I think. I don't know how long ago it was, but I'm probably going to look at that before I look at the 2018 video game. Might try to play God of War Betrayal again if that's even possible. So yeah, let's start talking about the games. I've already been recording my voice for 8 minutes. Speaking of which, how do you like the image quality? I'm doing this on my new camera. I hope that it looks. I hope that it's good. I hope that I don't end up having to cut out the video and do a screenshot of this. So anyway, okay. To start talking about the video games, I was thinking about talk. Okay, let's start with the gameplay itself because God of War's gameplay is insane. Even though there's definitely a pattern to its not exactly a pattern, but you can use combos and they all, and if you play the game, it all feels natural and sequential. But the look of it is utterly chaotic, and and it gets the energy going, and there's the quick time events, which um the okay, maybe the first game did overdo it a little bit, but still, the quick time events were really fun, and well, and obviously as the series went on, they added different things to the gameplay. You have Icarus wings. You've got Hermes boots, so you can go different directions mid-air. You've got Poseidon's Triton, so you can go underwater. But in Chains of Olympus, which is a prequel, you use Triton's lance, which is um prequels. You can prequels anyway, and you've also got the various weapons that Kratos fights with. This is he doesn't use an axe in the first game. He uses short swords known as the Blades of Chaos. Uh, they're basically his primary weapon in the first game and its prequels. And in the later games, he uses the Blades of Athena and Blades of Exile, but functionally and stylistically, they're basically the same as the Blades of Chaos. And he uses the Leviathan axe, which is what this little toy is used for. Is like partway through the 2018 game, you actually Kratos uses the Blades of Chaos instead of the Blades of Exile or the Blades of Athena. Like, what the hell, Kratos? The Blades of Exile was the last version of those blades that you had. You didn't have those since the first game. Chronologically, well, whatever. It's a video game. Who cares? And also the various powers that Kratos has. Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's storm that you want that everybody, I assume, maxes out like as soon as they can, so that they can like power through all the bad guys and feel really powerful. You've got Medusa's head to freeze enemies, and Yuri, her sister's head in the sequel, so you can use that power again, or the various other versions of freezing that you use to basically continue that power if you can't use Gorgons. You've got you got Atlas's power, which is I feel like they tried to, whenever you needed a replacement for the Poseidon type of attack where you attack all enemies at once, I feel like they tried to make it a little bit less powerful, or made you work a little bit harder for it, because in God of War it's the first power you receive. In God of War 2 it's like the last power you receive. In Chains of Olympus it is kind of the first power you receive, but in number 3 it kind of is, but also kind of isn't. And in Ghost of Sparta they kind of use it, and well, actually they kind of give you a version of that power, but they also kind of don't. It kind of depends on how good you are with it, I suppose. In as God of War Ascension, I don't really remember what the power sets are. God of War Ascension is kind of unmemorable, but you remember a few things about it. God of War Ascension is okay. All the God of War games are good, but God of War Ascension is not quite as good. I think it has something to do with the story. The story is not bad, but the setup to the story feels kind of insignificant. And also, I think we can talk about more of the esoteric side of the games now, because in the 2018 video game, people praised it for having for it being like a story of redemption, of brotherhood, an examination of like toxic masculinity, and and like and seeking and the quest for redemption and forgiveness, and also self-forgiveness, and people praise it for having a very deep storyline, and that all is basically true. But I do have one issue with that, and it's that I'm pretty sure God of War has always kind of been about these things. I feel like it's always kind of been about toxic masculinity and forgiveness and redemption, and and maybe and yeah, I think that all of that was already present in God of War, maybe in a more subtle way, but in other ways I think are not so subtle because Kratos, the good guy, well, no, not the good guy. Yeah, kind of iffy, but um, in the 2018 video game, he's a father trying to live a life of peace while trying to raise his young son, and yeah, it's all very effective and very good. But the reason why it's effective, I think, is because we know that this is a very different Kratos from the one that we were playing of in the previous games. I mean, this Kratos, who was okay. One part of the things that the first game and the 2018 game had in common is that we had a man with a with a with a terrible past trying to do what he can to make up for it, and we also have parts and also where he tries to protect his family in the 2018 game. It's basically you're basically your son is never in any real danger, but in the uh 2005 video game, there's a level where you need to protect these ghosts or these projections of your family because the Ares, the god of war, is trying to like drive you crazy or something. It's not entirely clear what he's trying to do. He says that to break a man's spirit is to truly destroy him. And yeah, you go back to the day where you're tricked into killing your family, or well, Kratos is tricked into killing his family, and like at that scene, these evil versions of Kratos come to do the job again, and Kratos has to like fight them all off, and also, uh, you if you use the circle button to interact with your family, if they take too much damage, you can hug them and transfer your life back into them to keep them alive, which is a huge subversion of how the circle button is used in previous versions in previous events in that game where you kill and tear your enemies apart. In that way, you're keeping someone alive, which is very which is great. But and yeah, let's and also let's Ares, the God of War in that video game, you kill him. And now, if you don't know that much about Greek mythology, Ares, being the god of war, he is the god of war, but specifically he's the god of bloodlust and slaughter of war. So violence, killing, um, a battle, I guess. To me, this sounds like toxic masculinity. So in the first game, you kill the literal personification of toxic masculinity, but then you're made the god of like toxic masculinity. In the first God of War, he did that because he was tortured by memories of him killing his family, and he did that to try to so that the gods would remove the nightmares from his head. The god said, "We forgive you for your sins, but we're not going to take away your nightmares." And Kratos, he wants to kill himself, but instead they make him the god of war. Kind of a bad idea, but because of that, he starts like a conquest all over all over Greece. So like Zeus removes his godhood and kills him, and then the Titans like resurrect him. They select him to be his champion, to select him to be their champion, and he like keeps and he goes back to kill them. and eventually in God of War 3, it's him versus everyone. Kratos has descended into full-on villain protagonist. The only thing that kind of makes it kind of easy for him to root for is that the gods and the titans are portrayed as like worse than Kratos, if you can believe it. Like Kratos is a literal supervillain, a literal psychopathic man-child that can't accept his mistakes and blames them on everybody else. That's your hero, and I think that yeah, he's never framed as the good guy or the hero. You are not meant to like Kratos. He is a bastard that you are supposed to hate. But Kratos is kind of more of an iron woobie because like we always get these small nuggets of humanity. Like you have him like expressing his self hatred about what he did to his family. You have him like uh, um like in the God of War 2, there's a scene where Gaia, the Earth, like who's trying to manipulate him, has him hallucinate the destroyed Sparta, and she takes the form of his deceased wife, and and he's like he still like hates himself about doing that, still begging her for forgiveness. And you also have like in God of War 3, Pandora. He says that okay, earlier in that game, the father, the surrogate, I guess, the surrogate adopted father of Pandora, Hephaestus, tries to kill you to protect her from well, you, because you need her to acquire the power to kill the god and the power to kill Zeus. But Kratos says Hephaestus did what any father should do: protect his child. And like it's always put like and like there are always these nuggets of humanity that Kratos knows that what he's doing is wrong, because when he gets Pandora to the thing that they need to get to kill Zeus, he changes his mind. He doesn't want to do it, but like Zeus kind of like Zeus is going to, but Zeus is is like the kind of the real bad guy that like tortured Pandora's father, so she wants to do it because Zeus deserves to die, and yeah, that's it. And also like there's also Kratos' brother, which is this is kind of the main plot for God of War, Ghost of Sparta, which is set between God of War 1 and 2. This has Kratos at his like his least selfish. His motivation is that he wants to save his brother from death, like the literal god of death. Like his brother is in another dimension, being imprisoned by Thanatos, the god of death, and his motivations are totally like understandable. Like the gods like kidnapped Kratos' brother because they thought he was going to be the one to like bring about the destruction of Olympus, but now Kratos is trying to save his brother. That's totally understandable. Kratos does kind of indirectly cause destruction, but if you know these games well enough, you can interpret it as the gods trying to get in his way. Because like Scylla, Kratos fights Scylla, which is the giant monster from like the Odyssey, and like their fight destroys Olympus, which is terrible. But at the start of the game, you have like Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and the goddess of war, warning Kratos to not to seek his brother. So it's very reasonable to assume that the gods sent Scylla after Kratos, and Kratos, like, fighting Scylla, which ultimately destroyed Atlantis, was just him trying to defend himself, and like the gods like blame Kratos for their own selfish desires. Like, the kind of speculation on my part, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what was happening. And yeah, like Kratos, and yeah, there is this kind of subplot where Kratos this kind of kills his mother because she becomes a monster when she tries to tell Kratos about his brother that needs to be saved, and Zeus like transforms him into a monster that like tries to kill Kratos, and you need to like fight her back. And this was one of the videos done by Anita Sarkeesian about the problematic parts of video games, and yeah, I have a few issues with Anita, even though I think that she received way too much hate for like guys. She said that it's important to like be able to criticize the media you consume while still being able to enjoy it. She's not doing this. She's not doing this because she hates video games. And also, oh no, where was it? Yeah. Um. No, no. Where was it? Okay. 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 In one of those videos, I don't remember which one. She did a. Say hello, Daddy. Say hello. They did this video where talking about this trope about uh, I think it was something like women in the refrigerator. I don't remember, but one of the clips they used was from this battle in Ghost of Sparta, which I don't know. I think in the context of that game, it wasn't exactly a proper representation of the trope that she was criticizing. Maybe in some ways it was, but I think that she like it, does she maybe she needs to pick better clips because I have no idea if she plays all the games, but whatever. She does. What's wrong, Daddy? Cat. Where was I going with this? It looks bad, but that's kind of the point. Kratos, uh, is, he hates himself about it. Yeah, like, everything, every time Kratos completes a journey, he's full of more self-hatred because after he saves his brother, he immediately loses him. And, it's implied that's when Kratos decided to try and kill all the gods of Olympus, which he did succeed, but now he's living in Asgard because, well, the first game, well, the first, se- well, the first 7 games, I believe. Yeah, the first 7 games have a Greek mythology setting. The 2018 game has a Norse mythology setting. Taking place in ancient Norway, and it's a soft reboot of sorts. It's still a continuation of the previous video games, but it's very different. The combat system is different. Uh, the voice actors are all different. Obviously the storyline is different. Uh, there aren't any sex mini games, which, yeah, looking back on it was rather stupid, but yeah, but honestly, I do have a kind of what was I going? Well, okay, what am I trying to say? Like, yeah, it's stupid, but it's also kind of awesome, and No, well, I'm trying not to scratch too much of the paint off. It took me like 10 minutes to do this paint job. I didn't do my back. That'd be difficult. I need somebody to help me with this, but uh, I think people would worry that it'd be a fetish, and I don't want that looked onto me. Now, well, where was I? Okay, there was something I wanted to say about the Norse era, which well, oh, I think we're going to get more games on this, and I think there was some subtle hints about the game that we're also going to get um explore in the ancient Egyptian pantheon, if we call it a pantheon, if it's not the Greek gods, I guess, and also the Celtic gods, yeah, the Egyptian gods and the Celtic gods, and I think how maybe even major world religions, which I think would trigger a lot of people, and also you just want to look at this because okay, I actually think I think I talked enough about this. I have half an hour of recording. I think I've explored the video games well enough. I think I did a good enough dive into these video games and how they affected me, how they explore the characters, how they. Well, I will talk about one more thing because I know I kept trying to remember this and I kept forgetting about it. I'm going to talk about Kratos' voice actor T.C. Carson, or rather his voice actors T.C. Carson and Christopher Judge. Okay, in the 2018 video game, uh, I feel like I'm working backwards a lot in this vlog. Anyway, Christopher Judge was praised for his performance, bringing a lot of humanity to Kratos and doing a nuanced performance, and that's good. But I do think T.C. Carson also could have done that. I think it would have been slightly more effective seeing the having the same Kratos do that then as the ones like you have Kratos trying to be like a good but stern father to his son, who is the same Kratos that's like screaming about killing gods and seeking vengeance. Like to have it done by the same voice actor, I think would have had to be more poignant and maybe more powerful. For whatever reason, they replaced T.C. Carson with Christopher Judge. Christopher Judge is really good here. Well, rather T.C. Carson is really good in Siren. Rather T.C. Carson is really good in God of War 2018. But I think T.C. Carson could have done it as well. Now, granted, in most of the games, T.C. Carson's performance is rather one-dimensional. He kind of doesn't need to uh, ex- uh, stretch out his range all that much. But in the few times that he has to, he does it very easily. He steps up his game really well because you have God of War, Ghost of Sparta, and God of War Ascension. Both of these games, you have a Kratos who's more sympathetic, and a Kratos who's more sympathetic to us, and who's more sympathetic to the other people in the game, is uh, which is which yeah, it's I think it's a real eye opener that T.C. Carson can actually do more with this character, that more can be done with this character. So even though Christopher Judge is really good in God of War 2018, I would have liked to see T.C. Carson reprise the role one last time. But but I have to admit, uh, Christopher Judge steps up to the plate effortlessly, and also like voice actor for Atreus also does really good in also does really good in God of War 2018, and and honestly, the video games do have some talented voice actors and actresses that add a lot to these characters, and also I want to do add one more. I want to get I want to add uh, direct some praise towards the writer of the God of War video game series. That's right, the writer, Jane May. You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna Google her name. I don't know it off by heart. Oh, man, I was way off. I was way off. Marianne Krazik, Krajek, Marianne Krajek. Anyway, she wrote all of the video games by herself. She, okay, the praise that they were doing onto the 2018 video game, they were giving onto the first video game as well. So I think that shows that uh, the fact that her talent as a writer, and also how underrated the earlier parts of this series were. God of War, like if you play all the games from point A to from the first game to the 2018 video game, you see a series that goes through some major evolutions and some compelling characters that you like, and some characters that you hate, and some characters that you love to hate, and characters that you uh and characters that you kind of wish got some better treatment. But overall, God of War is a great series that if you're into video games, you should check out.